Welcome to Tea with Tols, a platform celebrating young people, young voices doing amazing things around the globe.
I tell you, it is so cold here. Like, so cold. Anyway, hi, and that sounds like I'm excited. Hey guys, welcome to Tea with Tols. This is my very first episode. And my first guest is someone who I'm just so excited to have the privilege of speaking to and having him as a guest on this show, whatever this platform really becomes. It's just so amazing to have him here. His name is Imrana Alhaji Buba, is a young Nigerian global change maker and advocate for peace and counter-terrorism in Nigeria. And I'm just going to read out some of his accolades because this guy has, the list goes on. I'm going to read some of it out. So he got an award, amen. He got an award from the Queen herself. In 2016 as part of the Queen's Young Leaders Award. Amen. He's one of JCI's 10 outstanding young persons of the world. You might not know what JCI is, but if you get an award for being like one of the 10, like top 10 outstanding young people in the whole world, that counts for something. And that award really was for his contribution to world peace. He's a Mandela Washington Fellow and a One Young World Ambassador. He's spoken several times at the United Nations Summit advocating for peace and counter-terrorism in Nigeria. And I think out of all of these accolades, great that he's gotten all of these awards, but why I really wanted him here is I've had the privilege of knowing him as a colleague. I'm just bouncing, not really as a colleague. We studied together. So I did my master's in international development. He was a student as well, so we were colleagues in that sense. And honestly, his story, his aura, everything about him is just so inspiring, so encouraging. He's a survivor of the Boko Haram crisis, and so since then he's gone on to set up his own NGO, fighting terrorism in Nigeria and advocating for, fighting terrorism in Nigeria and supporting victims and young people with entrepreneurial skills and starting their own business. So we're so privileged to have him here with us, and we're going to be exploring with Imrana his journey, what starting out looked like for him, highs, lows, and what keeps him going. So I really do hope you enjoy it. I hope you find it useful. I hope you find it inspiring and motivating, to say the least, to kickstart your own journey, whatever that looks like for you. So please enjoy. Not please enjoy. Enjoy on a normal rate, and do let us know your thoughts if they're positive. Okay, thank you. So I want you to start with your story, right? So how did it even all happen? When did you begin? In fact, how old are you? Because I was looking at your picture yesterday and I was like, oh my god, you look so young.
But actually I look maybe younger than
No, I know, but you look like you're 20. Genuinely, you look so young, and I'm like, okay, first and foremost, how old is Imrana?
I'm 26.
No, joking, you're 26.
Seriously.
Look at his face. Look 26. Oh my god, you're 26.
Yes.
That's amazing. Oh, okay, so 26.
Yes.
Grew up in Nigeria.
Yes.
So whereabouts in Nigeria?
So in northeastern Nigeria, in Yobe State, I did my primary school, secondary school, everything there. My first degree in Maiduguri, University of Maiduguri.
So I just want to hear your story, because honestly, everything inspires me. And apparently the Boko Haram incident, you had an incident with them. So just how did it all start for you?
So I said I come from Yobe State in northeastern Nigeria, and I study in University of Maiduguri. So in my first day, during the heat of the Boko Haram insurgency after like their first revolution. You know, they started in 2009.
Yeah.
So on the way back home, they stop my bus and they start to pick people, passengers. Like that is the time when they start to kidnap people.
Oh wow.
So I was like one of the passengers that survived that attack because I don't have any ID with me. And at that time they were picking like mostly civil servant or something.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I survived that attack, and I have so many friends like that were affected. Someone that lost his father.
Wow.
Yeah, and one of my neighbor was murdered too. So there are a lot of stories like generally about it. So I said, okay, we have to do something about it. So we started to talk like with friends, how can we go about? And at that time, like it was very difficult to even talk about Boko Haram.
Yeah.
They have a very sophisticated intelligence system. If you say anything about them, they can track you.
Really?
Yeah. So we just start like from schools. Then we send like messages like pamphlet we share with young people in schools, and sometimes because people don't know people behind it, sometimes it get back to us and someone will be there, say this interesting thing, like someone share this message. And they don't know you are there because you can't put
your name. Oh wow.
And then when we start to see that, we start to get some support, and at that time I got selected for fellowship with the US Institute of Peace. They have this Generation Change Fellowship, which is for young leaders in Africa and Middle East. So they train you basically on peace building, conflict solution, and they empower you like to use this your voice to challenge. So that is basically how we expand. Like the more you get support, the more you do.
Of course,
like,
the more you can
expand
do.
like add more programs.
Yeah.
So we start like to be public, like to show ourselves, like have names, structure.
But when you started. Were you at university then?
Yeah, I was at the university, so like throughout like the period, like I was year one, like in university, my first year. So throughout
you
the
were in
period,
your first year.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So throughout the period when we built the organization, like we were like a student, so we were studying, like working.
Yeah.
So all our weekend like goes there or something.
Okay. Yeah. So after university, what then happened?
So after university, that is like so that is like when I start like to have many programs, like even outside like the three coastal, because we focus like on in Yobe, Borno, Bauchi. Later we expand to Adamo, which is one of the state affected. And so we organize like programs in many areas and also get to travel a lot, because sometimes you need like to speak to get more support. So attending like UN, like in 2016 too, I was like guest speaker at the CV side event, counter-terrorism extremism event. So I spoke there, and the more like you speak out, like share your experience, tell people, the more you get support, you get more partnerships. So.
Wow. Okay. So tell me, were you nervous? So like when you've gone through this incident, this you were on the bus, there was a fire in you, and you're saying you have to do something about it. Now, did you have like some friends in mind? Like when and are there spots where you're like, okay, I know this guy would want to do something, let me get this together. Is that how it started for you?
So that is exactly, so I have to talk to some friends. There are people that can actually discourage you. Oh no, you have to, no, I can't do this, like this is risky or something. Yeah, there are people that can tell, no, you don't see, even like political leaders, they don't talk about it. At that time, you can't even call Boko Haram their name. You use like names, those guys, DH,
wow.
A lot of things like this. So, but there are people that are actually affected, and like they think something need to be done. So those people, like they are the ones that say, oh yes, we have to do something, but no, we can't make it public now, we have to start somewhere.
Okay, so it's like knowing the right time.
So like for now that everyone like is free, you can
start talking about it, and then support internationally as well, Right, I see. So you started this journey, got a couple of people, and we're going to go back to the naysayers, like the people that are like, no, you can't do it, because I think that's so important with young people. Like I always feel like there's more people telling you no, you can't do something. That's people that can tell you, okay, keep doing it. So you got your people, you started this journey and started to speak at events. Was that scary for you?
At some point, sure, like because at some point they start to track people, like still attack people. Some point later on, they pick like sometimes religious leaders that talk about them even in sermon. So at that time we were a little bit scared, and there was a time we got like threat messages, which later we figured out it's not actually from like real. Those like fighters or something. Maybe they are just from like some of their sympathizers or something, or people that just want like to scare you or something. So at that time we were a little bit scared. We have like to like stay offline for some weeks.
Yeah, right.
You can't be even on Facebook showing maybe your location or something, wait for some time. And then later when like security finish like the investigation, it's not actually like threat. Like where people send the thing like there is no any issue coming, so maybe people just want to scare you.
Yeah.
But you just have to be security conscious, maybe
Yeah.
time to time talk to security agencies before organizing big events or something. And then we move on.
So before we even go on to the next of your accolades, like your CV right now should be like 5 pages, right? I want to like where your parents, family, your close friends, were they scared when you're challenging a really big, so and it's not even like you're challenging, you're helping because the course of the project that you started was really, or NGO was really helping, young people that have been affected, entrepreneurship, that sort of thing, right?
Sure.
So it's like where your family or your close friends, how did they take it? Were they like, Imrana, go, we support you? Or were they like,
yeah,
it's a
you know,
scary
I
time?
told you like so from the beginning there is this kind of discouragement, like people saying, "Oh, this is risky," you know. But at some point when people start to see like, "Oh, this is really something good," like when we start to get like partnerships, like people start to see job opportunities like coming, like those entrepreneurship trainings, and so people, this is serious. I want to get involved. So that's how we get like so many volunteers, like everyone want to be part of it. So if I tell people like we have 600 volunteers, they, how comes like we might, but because it's like a youth like organization, so everyone just want to get involved, and we don't have this kind of restriction. So if you're a student, teacher, or anything, if you are just like a young person and you are passionate about peace building, you want to do something, we can have something for you.
Yeah, you
Okay,
have
come
something for you.
volunteer.
Okay. And so tell me the main nuke of your project. Like, what is it exactly? Because you said peace building.
So the key things that we focus in is like promoting peace education and skills training for unemployed young people. So we started like with the peace education, like organizing programs in schools to teach young people about tolerance. Like one of the things that we notice with extremist groups like Boko Haram is like that feeling of like promoting like intolerance between people, saying no, we have this kind of belief, we have this kind of ideology, we have to promote it. And sometimes it starts from like this early age when people think we are different with people, maybe within even the same religion, different ethnic groups. You have this division when you think of religion to different religion differences like and this. So there are so many things. Then we say, okay, we have to do something. So the model like we use, we set up peace clubs in schools, we appoint teachers to guide the students as patrons, and we have like a handbook that we support them with, and they organize programs on their own. So they have like a kind of chapter, and they are affiliated to the big organization. So whenever we have event, we invite them, and some of the teachers we build their capacity. So we organize training for them, then they train the students. Then the other one like that is the skills training, and we notice like sometimes it's not just about intolerance, like there are other legitimate grievances, like especially unemployment. Someone like finish school for 3-4 years, no job, he cannot get any capital to start business. So sometimes if terrorists approach him with money, he can say yes, I can join you. And the more he hate the government for that, for example, you can see maybe politicians like their kids are working or something. So it can makes him feel like, oh, those people are corrupt or something. So I have to challenge them. I have to. So if terrorists have this same message, you can make, okay, this is good opportunity to join this group to attack them. It's a kind of revenge. So the skills training focus on those people, mostly like vulnerable ones. So we focus like in urban slums and villages. And we get them, then link them like to organizations that we partner with, and sometimes we just train them like for the project that we work like with big partners like OTI. So we just train them and give them capital, some soft skills, and they can just continue. But the criteria is that you have to train others as well. So after you get like the support, others like you have to train others, so it becomes like a cycle. So the thing keeps
so it's like it's long term, that long term growth. With the amount of time you have to devote to this, is it something that is like a full time?
So it's like actually part time. So that is it. Like so, almost all of us like the key ones that we started, we all have like because we started as students, so we have this balance already. It's part time because it's mostly after school. So even after that, we have like professional jobs, like where we work like full time. But some people they are more flexible than others. Maybe some people that teach like in schools, maybe it's only in the morning and after they finish, so they can work like even day after. And for some of us, like we work as consultants, so it's relatively flexible. You
Yeah.
can travel anytime. You just meet like you are like deadlines. Yeah, I finished this milestone. I can travel. I can do things. So that is
So that way it works.
Yeah,
right?
it's a kind of flexible.
Yeah,
so,
like flexi hours.
so it's not like full time. Some volunteers stay like full time. They do things before they get jobs or something. We encourage them to do it, but we make it look like that flexible because we don't want it to look like people just stay full time. They have to be doing this everything. So.
Okay, that's good. And so now with the other sort of titles, I don't know if it is the titles. Like, what would you call it? It's just the awards almost that people give, right? I need you to list it. Like, don't even feel like it's not even you being humble. I just want you to list all of it because I keep seeing all of these things on social media, and I'm like, this guy is just a change maker that we need to keep supporting. So the young leaders thing, I don't even know the title. You tell me, what is it called?
Queen's Young Leaders Award.
Queen's, yeah. So how did that happen?
So it's like initiative of like Royal Commonwealth Society, Queen's Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Trust, and Comic Relief.
Okay.
So they want to celebrate like the lifetime of Queen of England, and they want to come up like with a program. But for them, they said they need something that can last like a long time or something that people can remember all their life, and there will be a lot of support attached to it. So that is when they come up with the program in 2014. Queen's Young Leaders Award. So the first year was in 2015, and they awarded like 60 young people from Commonwealth. So I got nominated like for the second one. I got the nomination in 2015. And when I got the email like you are shortlisted, I was not actually thinking. I was like, because so there are so many people doing things, and like all over Commonwealth there are so many nominations. They say 2,500 or so nominations, like those like that were nominated, meeting the requirement, everything. So I got like the call, and they interviewed me, asking me questions about my work, something like that. And they just called me that I'm selected. And so part of the award, like you get to meet the Queen of England, get award from her, which is like a medal at Buckingham Palace.
Oh, wow,
and
amazing.
You also benefit from like a 1-year course from University of Cambridge. They call it Leading Change, which is tailored like for the program. It's a bespoke program like, with management, advocacy, like how to like expand your project. Then we get like to stay in UK for 3 weeks, like during the award, like, for the residential week. We visit like many like organizations like media, like BBC, going like to other partners of the program, and to go like to Cambridge too, because it's online course, so we get to meet some of the facilitators during the program. So that is like the major one, and I think like it's.
So how do you even get nominated?
So that is it. So they make like the nomination is a public nomination. So I got
for yourself.
for yourself. So I got nomination from one of the board members, like that he knows about the work. And when he like told me like he nominated, I was thinking, when I check the website and I saw, oh, this is competitive. Sometimes
it's like you don't want to put someone's expectation. So you're speaking out at like the UN summit twice, you said. And how did that feel? Like, was that nerve-wracking? Was it?
So the first one, I got the invitation while I was in the US already, like doing this Mandela Washington Fellowship. So they have like this International Youth Day in 2016, and the theme was Youth Building Peace. And so they want young people to be like the speakers, like, because this is International Youth Day, and the theme is about young people that are promoting peace in the community. So I got the invitation to speak there at the event. Young people, I think 2,000 something like that participants, because it's during youth assembly. And I get like to speak there with some young representatives. I was thinking that is like, that would be like the biggest like event. Then this year I got like invitation to speak at the first International Day for Remembrance of Victims of Terrorism. It's like first event like that UN like commemorate like all victims of terrorism. And they want like, they don't want it to be like you just invite victims to come talk about this is what they want. People that are working like to support the victims, people that are affected by terrorism. They live in like countries affected by terrorism, but they are supporting victims. They are doing things to prevent things. So they invited 5 speakers like from 5 different countries: US, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Belgium to come and speak at the event,
Okay.
and Nigeria. So I got the
Yeah,
invitation from Nigeria, the fifth one.
Okay,
So,
wow.
and that is like I think the one of the high profile even because UN Secretary General was there, and he's like deputy, he's under Secretary on counter-terrorism, many like staffs and representatives from high commissions because like it's like international day like dedicated to 17th August, and because the event falls, I think 21st August falls like during public holiday, so they put it 17th August.
Yeah.
So there was no like work or something. Many people were
actually there.
And after like I spoke at the event, they launched exhibition, and I was so surprised. I saw like my video at the exhibition and my pictures so they showcased like people working to prevent terrorism or supporting victims of terrorism, and it was showcased I think for 1 month at the UN. So many people that went there even after
that could see.
We saw like your video there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
When you started in 2009, like, or when this all happened, did you ever think, like, this is the vision? Like, did you ever see yourself? Did you ever think that, with the fellowship of the UN, did you see that coming?
No, actually, I never think of it like I will even do it like for so long because it's something that you just that, okay, you have to play your part or something. Because at that time, people are not even talking about it. People are all scared or something. So I was thinking, it should be something just short term or something. That's why I told you we don't even put like our names out. Or something. But I think like the more you get this recognition, like it's a good reason like to push you to keep on doing it. It means it's something that people believe like it's good or something.
Yeah. Like, what is the vision for this? Like the projects? Do you see this? Obviously, now you said you didn't even think it was going to go this long term. But obviously, with more recognition, with more support now, what is the next? Do you think the chapter for the?
So I think like for now is to keep like doing the work and to expand it. So the more you get like support, the more you get partners, the more you expand. So I think like the focus now should not be only on like communities that are already affected by terrorism. So we need like to expand to other areas to prevent the things. For example, there are other like states that are relatively safe. There are no issues. But when you go there, you can see the same drivers, like the same factors there. Like you can see unemployment, you can see intolerance. All those people like preaching like hate speech in public. They are there doing it. So I think like my vision is to expand it like to other areas like within Nigeria to see like many young people are involved, and I don't want like me to be the only one doing it. So sometimes when people say, "Oh, I started this organization because I feel so happy and I support them," if they need support, okay, linking them with partners. Like it should not be only under my organization or under my name. So everyone that can do something that is aligned with my vision or something, I can support it to do it.
Sometimes, has there ever been times that in your own personal space, especially as a young person, you've just been like, I don't know if I can keep doing this, or this is actually really challenging, this is too hard?
Yeah, I think it's that time that I told you like when we got like threat messages or something like around 2013, 2014, that was like the head of Boko Haram insurgency, like that was the peak. They attacked so many villages, even occupied towns, like people. So at that time it was difficult. So you can't talk, and some like people like, because I stay offline for quite a long time, people were scared. Oh, are you safe? Are you okay? So it actually like affected like my work at that time. And even me as a person, because I'm no longer free like before, like you'll be traveling thinking like am I safe or something. But since that time like because like for now I can't say like those people don't know me or something. But the fact that like now they focus on different priority or something, because they are more of like fighting for their survival now, so they are no more like looking for people.
And the number of how many people the project would have helped right now or supported, like how many young people you would have given skills?
So for the training we trained over 2,000 young people. And for the peace education we don't know actually the number, because we set up peace clubs so we have like 46 chapters, like 46 clubs, like we have like those peace clubs, but we don't know how many people they, because sometimes we train like maybe 50 students, but later on when they set up the peace clubs, they also establish and they train them. So and I think that is like a good like way like to keep people like to have their own like style to say this is how we want it to be done or something.
Yeah.
So we want like to look at how many schools like already here and what is the impact, because working like to change like people's attitude is hardly to know the impact quickly. For example, how people's behavior change like within 3 to 4 years. So it's something that we believe like it can take a long time, but time to time like we need like to evaluate to see how far.
How far.
So
if a young person was here today and wanted to start their own mission, and with the purest of heart, good knowledge, good strategy, but it's that naysayers, the people that are like don't do it, which is I think always from a good place. They care about you, right?
Sure.
I think that's why they do it. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think for me like it's just to go like with your dream. Like if you believe something, like I really want to do something, sometimes it's good like to seek for advice or something. But I think for me personally, I hate like seeking advice, and not especially from people that they will discourage you. So if I know like this person like is someone that can encourage me or something, I'll always go to them. But if you are someone that always tell me no, take things slowly, you are still young, don't do this thing, you can keep like, so I stop like going to you. There are people like this that you take them like as mentors or something, but maybe they are thinking to them like you don't need like to go fast, take things to them. I think it's good. Sometimes they were thinking about for your own safety or something, but I think sometimes you need someone that can like believe in you, at least try it. He can tell you, okay, start at this thing, see how it will go. So I remember like when I talked to some of my teachers in the university at that time, they were like, it's risky, but I think it's good. You can do it this way, you can do it that way. So they were like a kind of like telling you, and they will be asking you time to time, how's it going? How do you see this thing? Is it okay? So I think I better like believe in this way, like and when you see most people like even people that run successful companies or something, they always share the same thing. Like sometimes when they start, people did not believe in them. They were thinking, this is this idea cannot work. You should not waste your time. But at the end, like it works successfully. So I think for me, as young people, you should just believe. Like you can try. If it feels okay, no problem. You can try another.
You start again. And you also see like with your work, have you started to see like a change in the mindset of young people? Like so this, the president of Nigeria is like, young people are lazy, whatever it is, right? Do you see that with your work, or do you think that's not true?
I think I don't know what makes him to even mention that, because to me, like Nigeria is one of the countries that you see young people are really active. We have hardworking people, not only people involved in activism or something, but young people like that do business or something. If you go like to street like in Nigeria, you can see like people struggling, like hustling just to make a living. So to me, I don't know like what do you mean by that, because I believe like young people like are doing their best. Like the system sometimes is not good.
Of course.
Like the electricity is not there, but you see people like innovating things, coming up with so many solutions, and I believe like that's 10 minutes something else. Like I'm sure maybe some.
I don't know. It's like
even something else. But sure,
like
young
different
people, I believe young people
are
really like hardworking and they're doing a lot.
And so my final question is in terms of, again, it's going back to somebody that is starting up. So starting up obviously is a whole journey. You're scared, you have doubts, what do you think is going on in that young person's head, and what should they like what would you just tell them to be like, snap out of it, do this?
I think it's that fear of failure or something.
Right.
Maybe you can think, I have this money, what if I start this and the thing fails? If it's a business, so once the thing, so I just have to keep my money, maybe take things slowly, maybe I can find a job, it's better, it's less risky. I think that is what like young people like always think about it, and I think to me like one thing that you can think about this is to think of other successful people. You can think about other young people, people of your age or something that do something similar, and I think that is why like you need like to have someone as a role model. Someone did something, let me start from somewhere. Sure, sometimes it can't be the same. You can start at your own field. I have some friends that like, so we started together, and they started like a business, some running their organizations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not as successful as mine. Maybe
Mhm,
they don't like maybe get all those, and it's okay. They tried their best, they did, and they have to change. They have to switch. Okay, I have to stop this. I have to. I think it's good, like always, to try things.
Yeah.
But instead of you to say no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
It's good. It worth it that you
try.
tried. Okay, let me just. If they think, oh, okay, no problem. I can learn.
Exactly.
Like, it's a good learning process.
Exactly. That's so true. It's like you can never know about something except you try. Do you know what I mean? Like you can have a desire in your mind, but you would only remain a desire until you act on it, and you'll see that okay, it's a failure. Okay, there you go. Oh, actually, there's something there for you to grow. Anyway, thank you so much, Imrana, for coming on Tea with Tols. Is there a place people contact you?
I think Facebook, my name on Facebook, Imrana Alhaji Buba.
Yeah.
And on Twitter at Buba Imrana, Instagram at Buba Imrana. I think.
Great. I'll put it all there.
Okay.
Yeah. But thank you so much. You've been so great. That's everything now with Tea with Tols. I hope you enjoyed. Again, if you have any questions, comment. We would love to hear from you. Thank you.